All right, in this problem, we're dealing with a spring, which when the spring, it's like a spring that's, say, hanging. There's a weight hanging at the end of the spring, and the bigger the weight is, the more the spring stretches out. And the relationship between the amount of weight you put on the string and the amount it stretches is a direct variation relationship, which means that, by the way, if I put no weight on the spring, then there's no stretch. And that's really important for direct variation. The 0.00, although it is always going to be in the table, it's always going to show up in the graph, 0, 0, always there for a direct variation. And so I know that, I can calculate that it's 5 units of stretching per 20, I forget what, if it was 5 centimeters and 20 ounces. So this is ounces and centimeters. And then we can think of it that way, 5 centimeters per 20, right? And when we're going to graph something, and this is like I put time distance here because I'm not trying to give everything away for you to think about it a little bit. But whenever you graph something, by the way, and you look at the slope, speaking of per, slope is rise over run, or change in y over change in x, and we can interpret that as, in this case of distance for time, it's distance per time. Maybe it's miles per hour, or feet per second. It's a rate. How much the y-axis is, the change in the y-axis is happening per unit of time change. Or we could make it different things. It doesn't have to be time and distance. It could be, for example, weight and stretch. Right? It would be the same thing. Weight per stretch, or stretch per weight, sorry. Right? And then here, a variety of different ways we can look at figuring out what this x is. We can set up a proportion. We'd know that 20 to 5 is the same as x to 8. Or we can figure out what the rule is. So what are we multiplying 20 by to get 5? And you're going to think, man, 20 times something is 5. That doesn't make any sense. Well, if you want to know what that rate is, you just go backwards. Right? If 20 times something is 5, then 5 divided by 20 will be that something. And that something will be the same thing to multiply x by. And it's going to end up being a fraction or a decimal. Okay? So anyways, that was the two questions. What does slope mean in the graph? What is x?